What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So, last video of 2023. It's been a really cool year. I've done some cool stuff. And I have a really neat instrument that I bought a couple of months ago that I really want to show you guys. I really like it. I think it's a really interesting instrument. So, let's check it out. I bought a bass. So, I do play bass in a project, and I use bass in the studio. I use basses in the studio all the time. And I have a Fender P bass that I don't think I've ever made a video about it, because it just kind of is what it is. It's just a P bass. I don't say that like as a slight to it or anything like that. It's a cool bass, but it just does what a P bass does. There's nothing really inspiring about it. It's just very utilitarian. It's kind of there. But from playing bass live with this project I'm in, I was having some issues with the P bass. There were some things about it I just didn't like for live use. It's big. It's heavy. I play Gibsons, and the necks on all my Les Pauls are kind of small, and I'm used to short scale guitars, and I just said that in the studio the P bass is great, but for playing live it was just really uncomfortable for me. I didn't like the size of it. I didn't like the weight of it. I just didn't like how it felt. So I found this. This is a Gibson Les Paul Junior bass, and I love this thing. I did not really know if I was going to dig it or not when I got it. It was kind of a leap of faith buy, if you will. I just found it on Reverb, and I thought, let's try it out, right? Like, I know it's a Gibson, so I know it's going to have some things about it that I like. But the main selling point of this for me was the neck. It has a really thin neck. It's a lot more comfortable for me to play. And this has a 30-inch scale. So the distance from the bridge to the nut is only 30 inches. On a standard Fender scale bass, it's 34 inches. So this is a whole 4 inches shorter than a standard Gibson scale bass. And it has one pickup here. So things about the P bass I do like. I like the one pickup in the middle with a volume and a tone. That's all I need. I don't need any kind of crazy like active EQ or multiple pickups or anything like that. I don't need that stuff for bass. I'm a very simple bass player. Turn it all up, I set my amp, and I play bass. I don't mess with any of this stuff or anything like that. I'm not messing around with stuff or trying to get a bunch of different things. I like this type of tone, this pickup in the middle position here. This is a humbucking pickup too, so it doesn't make any noise or anything. That's what I like about the P bass. I have another bass that has a pickup right here, and it's a single coil, and it's not great. It sounds good, but it just makes a lot of noise. So this is a double coil pickup. It's a humbucker. Doesn't hum. And the 30-inch scale really had me intrigued. I play baritone guitars. I have a couple of extended range baritone guitars here, all with like 27, 28-inch scales, right? Ish. And I thought, it probably won't be too much different than playing one of those. It might feel a lot similar to that than it does to like a full-size bass. The other thing I found out about this thing when I got it was that it's a lot lighter than the P bass is, which I didn't expect. P bass is just heavy. And heavy instruments don't bother me. I play Les Pauls, but for playing live and having a bass that's already like kind of a heavier thing anyway, and you got all this neck out here, like it's well balanced, it's light. The other big thing for me is I am not crazy about Fender fretboard radiuses. Maybe that's just like a super overly picky thing. I talked about it in the Strat video some. This has a 12-inch fingerboard radius, just like 99% of all other Gibsons do. And it's so much more comfortable than that 9.5 on the P bass. I just don't like how round the fretboard is. This is much flatter. It's much more comfortable. I just like it a lot better. I like the neck. The neck is finished and it has a, nitro clear coat on it, just like any other Gibson does. Now, this was originally like satin finish, but over the years of someone playing it, it has kind of shined up and glossed up a little bit, and it's like really smooth, and I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, just everything about it just feels more for me. I like the headstock. The headstock isn't like, super gigantic and long, and like I'm not banging it into things. So the neck is shorter, the headstock is smaller. It has these really nice hip shot tuners on it. I think these come on its stock. The thing that did not come on its stock was this bridge. So if you know anything about Gibson basses, you know that Gibson uses these wacky like 3-point bridges where there's like 2 here and then 1 in the middle, and they kind of set up off the guitar and they like rock a little bit, and sometimes that front bolt winds up getting bent or something. It's a really bad design. Babbitt's makes a replacement, and whoever owned this before me put this on it, and that was a huge selling point too, because that was like the first thing I was going to do when I was looking for one of these. I was like, I'm going to have to immediately buy a bridge because I know I don't like those kinds of bridges on there. That was kind of the thing that had turned me off from these before, was I really didn't like the bridges. And when I found this one with the replacement bridge on it, I thought, that's, I'm not going to have to do anything. That's just good to go, just like I would want it. And I was able to make a deal on this and get it. And it's great. The body is like the same size as a double cut junior body would be. So it isn't like a huge body either. The whole thing is just super comfortable. It sounds great. It plays great. The only kind of thing I didn't think about when I got the bass was being a short scale bass, you can't just put regular full length bass strings on it. I had to buy some Gibson short scale bass strings to go on this. There are other companies that make short scale bass strings. I think Diodario makes some, Ernie Ball makes some. I found the Gibson ones, I bought them, I put them on here. So that's what's on it, is the Gibson short scale bass strings. And yeah, this is my Les Paul Junior bass. And I absolutely love it. I played it live at a show already, and I've been using it in the studio. And it sounds killer. So I made a demo, and I'm actually going to flip this around because there's something else I want to show you. I want to show you my signal chain for this demo, because this bass tone I got is gnarly, and I want you to see my pedal board and what I'm using on the computer to get those bass tones. But other than that, this is standard Gibson stuff. Mahogany body. I want to say it's a mahogany neck. Don't quote me on that. It might be a maple neck. I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes on these little LP Junior style things, they would just like throw maple necks on there. So since this is all dyed this cherry color, it's kind of hard to tell. But typically when you have maple and they dye this cherry color, the maple will turn like a different kind of hue than the mahogany does. And this all seems very consistently dyed the same color. So I'm like pretty sure this is a mahogany neck. If it isn't, somebody can leave in the comments. If you know like 100% this is a maple neck, let me know. Rosewood fretboard. Yeah, just like standard kind of Gibson stuff, but that is my Gibson Les Paul Junior bass. I know Gibson isn't really known for their basses anywhere like they are their guitars, and I think that's because a lot of Gibson basses are kind of hit or miss. Like I played a couple of T-Birds, and some are cool, but they kind of in general, they just seem too big and clunky. They're full size, they're 34-inch scale. But then you have that giant the Firebird style body and that huge headstock. It's just like way too much. And some of their basses from the 70s, like the Grabbers and the Rippers and stuff, they don't make them anymore. And they were kind of big and clunky too. And I think Gibson's always kind of hiccuped with their bass guitar line. They've never really, other than like the SG bass, they've never really had anything that kind of like was just super solid, So I know a lot of people like T-Birds, and like fair enough, they sound great. I just think they're super awkward and huge, and I don't want to play something that big live. They're just super clunky and cumbersome. So I don't think they make this anymore. Kind of a shame. I think it's a really good alternative to the SG bass. I'm not crazy about the SG basses. I think the body's a little too thin. It's a little too neck heavy. And that front pickup on the SG basses is just like super muddy sounding. And then that little mini humbucker thing they put back here is just super weak sounding. So it's like two bad pickup tones for me. This humbucking pickup right in the middle sounds great. So I'm going to flip you guys around and show you the pedal board and the computer and the amp sim I'm using, and then we'll jump to that demo. Alright guys, what is up? So here is my bass pedal board. So you can see I just have like a D'Addario tuner and a noise gate at the end. Those are pretty utilitarian, but here's where like the cool stuff is happening. This is a Demon Effects Super Symmetry compressor. It is a clone of a Dark Glass Super Symmetry compressor. I don't know if you guys know anything about Demon Effects. If I'm being honest, I don't really know how they're able to get away with this and just call it a Super Symmetry just like Dark Glass does. But they do, and it's like a lot cheaper than the Super Symmetry. But I actually used to own a Super Symmetry, and this is a very accurate pedal to it. So don't get discouraged or like turned off thinking like maybe they just crammed some other kind of circuit or compressor or whatever like into this housing, because this is very similar and responds and acts very much in the same way my actual Dark Glass Super Symmetry did. So that's a cool pedal. And then this right here, the Earthquaker Devices Live pedal. This thing sounds insane the way I have it set. So that's kind of what's going into. I'm using the STL Tones Will Putney amp suite, and I'm using this like Ampeg SVT kind of model here with this huge 810 cab IR. I'm not sure exactly what kind it is. I'm guessing it's just like a SVT. And then you can see I do have the post EQ engaged. And that's kind of how I had it set. I just buffed the like high mids a little bit and pulled a little low mid out. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, that is the chain for the bass tones. Alright guys, well thank y'all for tuning into the video. Hope you liked the demo. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you like this kind of content. So the last video of the year, hopefully next year. I got a lot of cool things coming up, and hopefully I'll be able to get some really cool footage, especially in January when I head to NAMM. I'm really hoping I'm going to be able to film some stuff there, and just a lot of cool things coming. So stay tuned, and Thank you guys for interacting with the channel and watching the videos and everything like that. I know I don't really have like a solid upload schedule. I'm super busy, you know, being a professional luthier and a semi-professional musician too. It's like I'm all over the place. I'm playing all the time. I'm working on guitars and stuff all the time. And I don't have as much time to make YouTube content, but I really like doing it, and I'm going to try to keep doing it as much as I can. So thank y'all for tuning into the channel and watching the videos and all that stuff. And I'll see y'all next year. Happy New Year.